As they say here, Salamat Pagi, blessed awakening to all of you. Assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings. So, this is my first time actually making a video where I do not have contacts on. And I believe that there are ways to reverse our eyesight, or rather improve our eyesight without glasses, without contacts. And I am intending to find out and for that knowledge to come to me. Some of it has come in the past, but I didn't follow up on it. So, yeah, I'm just setting that intention. Meanwhile, it is a beautiful day, and I want to follow up on my last post, which was mentioning this statement called, or that goes, Allahumma barik. Allahumma, Allahumma is saying, oh Allah. Allah is the name that we use for the one that created us, created the universe. And when I say created us, it's because the we are derived from an origin, meaning there was something that brought all of this into existence. There was someone, we say Allah, who brought all of this into existence. And sometimes I use the creator because it's just one simple identification and name that mostly anyone can relate to. But Allah is more than just the creator, the provider, sustainer, nourisher. Everything goes back to Allah. Allah is Al-Awwal, the first, Al-Akhir, the last. I have a friend who is very soon publishing a series of books, and one of them has to do, or all three of them have to do with the names and attributes of Allah. And I definitely would love to share from that in the future. I see that even before her book is out, that this is a subject that is very important for people to start having another perspective and another awareness of a creator who is not human-like in the sense of human limitation. So, oh Allah, Allahumma barik, bless. It's calling on Allah to bless whatever it is that you are directing your attention to. So you may be directing your attention toward yourself. You may look in the mirror that day and you may really admire what you see. You may take that perfect selfie. Allahumma barik. You may visit someone's home and you're just, wow, this is a really beautiful place. Allahumma barik. You're asking the Creator to bless it. You're asking the source of all to bless it. You may have a partner, or you may not. You may just see someone and they just, wow, there's just something about them. You're in awe of their beauty. Or a man may see a woman and she's dressed in a certain way where he can really see all that there is. Now, from Islamic tradition, they would probably tell the man to guard his gaze unless it's his wife. Don't, Allahumma barik. How you look at, no, not like that. Not like that, no. But just saying, you see something that is beautiful that you consider to be beautiful, Allahumma barik. You, whatever it is, someone's making a lot of money. Wow, they just got a new car. Allahumma barik. Whatever it is, you are now asking for that to be blessed. What does that mean that something's blessed? It's protected. It is improved upon. It's even better than what you see. You're wanting increase for that individual. You're wanting increase in that particular thing. You're beautiful. Oh, Allahumma barik, may you be more beautiful. You have a great home. Allahumma barik, may your home be even more improved, even more beautiful. How do you feel when you say this? Like, how does a person feel when they are wishing blessings? And what's interesting, and I didn't write this down, but I'm just wanting to kind of talk it out right now. In this simple yet potent statement that we're taught is a protection from the energy of envy and jealousy and all of that goes with, we would say, intense admiration. With this is two reminders or two components that are worthy of delving into. And the first is we are acknowledging at that moment that that blessing is not autonomous. It didn't just come out of nowhere. That home didn't just come out of nowhere. That the ability, the people who were able to actually use their hands and their body and their intelligence and all of that to create whatever you see of, for example, a building or a structure or a home. The individual that you're looking at, if they did makeup and you're admiring the way they did their makeup, or if you're just admiring how they are in their natural form without any embellishment, either way, nothing came about autonomously. Nothing came about spontaneously in isolation on its own. It all came from an origin, a source, the first, the one, the creator, Allah. And so in that moment, we're remembering that. In that moment, we're stepping outside of the everyday. We're stepping outside of that tangible exposure, that which we're seeing right in front of us. We're stepping out of that moment and we're raising it to something beyond. We're raising it to something higher. So we're not getting caught up only in what is at present. Oh my God, you are so beautiful. And just like, okay, and what? Okay, and what? Or your dress is so, okay, yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with praise. But if that's where it stops, there is, from my perspective that I'm sharing, there is a lot of wrong that comes from that. Because once you are placing so much emphasis on that present, which is this life, this worldly life, you're forgetting that there is something beyond. There is another existence. There is another reality to our being here that's not just based on that which we can see. And so again, that simple statement of Allahumma barik is bringing you back to your origins. It's bringing us back to, why are we here in the first place? We are here to know Allah. We are here to worship Allah, and it's interconnected. The scholars define worship as kullu ma yuhibbuhu Allah wa yarda. Everything that Allah loves and is pleased with is worship. Now, everything that Allah is not pleased with is, by default, it's not worship. So when we do something that someone loves, it draws us closer to them. When we are doing that which someone loves, it usually will bring about some benefit in connection to that individual. There are those of us who are not necessarily working for ourselves. We work for others, or we're working for someone else. You want to do that which your boss has put you in the company for. You have a job to fulfill. And when you fulfill that job, that work, then there's certain benefits that come about from that. There's certain rewards, like your payment. And if you work a little bit harder, then you are also given extra rewards at times. Sometimes you're given a raise. And it's interesting because even though the Creator is not in any way to be compared to an employer of a job that you are working in, nevertheless, there's that awareness that, wow, like if I actually care about how I operate in a job, in work with a person and getting that raise, then what about my connection to my Creator that put me on this earth for a purpose? And when I am in alignment with my purpose for being placed here, then I'm raised. So that is the first awareness that I would say these teachings connected to all divine guidance in its pure form, but I'll say Islam. But what Jesus came with, what Moses came with, what I believe Buddha originally came with, what maybe Krishna originally came with, like these different teachers, what they originally came with, and prophets, I believe was about aligning with and submitting and surrendering to the one that brought all of this into existence, so that we would fulfill our purpose and that we would have all the benefits of that, and we would be raised. We would really get that raise. So I'm saying that because this statement, Allahumma barik, so easy on the tongue. It's not difficult to say at all. Anyone can say it. I've had so many friends of all different backgrounds and just all different beliefs. And when I teach them, or when I share, I should say Allahumma barik, they just say it right away. They're like, Allahumma barik. I mean, I wish I could have a recording for every time I've been with a group of people and it became like a little almost chorus of different people saying Allahumma barik, Allahumma barik. Like everyone loves saying this, that I've come across at least. And again, I see something beautiful, I see something I admire, I bring it outside of that moment and I bring it back to the one who gave me this moment. I bring it back to the one that made that individual, or all of the elements that led up to now this individual being in front of me. I go back to the origin in my praise. Oh, you're beautiful. Allahumma barik. Going back to the creator. May the creator bless it. And so that brings now to the second point of that blessing. And instead of just stopping there, oh, you look so good. Oh, this food is so good. Or, oh, your home is amazing. Or, oh, your clothes. Or, oh, your makeup. And all these things that we keep praising people for, whatever it may be, or admiring in whatever platform, whatever place or space, that we move outside again of, like, let's not stop there. Let's now ask for that to be blessed. So when you're in that mindset of, first of all, Allah, the creator, whatever you want to say, not all of you say Allah, the source, the one. Whenever you are in that mindset of, first of all, that's where it all begins, you don't end up falling into jealousy. You don't end up going into a state of enviousness. You also do not lower or feel lowered by the fact that that person may have more in that area. There's always going to be someone more beautiful than you. There's always going to be someone more fit. There's always going to be someone more accomplished. There's always going to be someone who has more wealth. There's always going to be someone with a more beautiful home. There's always going to be someone with maybe a better spouse or better partner, or someone who is more romantic with you, with their partner, than they are with you. Or there's always going to be people who have more in some area than what you have. That's life. And there's always going to be those who have less. So we always are falling in a space of having more than others, and we're always in a place of having less than others in some area in our life. But we bring it back, ideally, we bring it back to the realization that our value is not in these things. Our value is not in this outer appearance and how much, I like to dress up sometimes, not when I'm going on camera or Facebook Live. I just throw a scarf on and that's it. I didn't even moisturize I could have moisturized my lips at least. But I'm just saying, I like to dress up like anyone else. But at the end of the day, I'm not this. This is not who I'm a soul. I'm beyond this. So it's the same thing with where we live. It's the same thing with the clothes that we choose to wear. We are beyond that. And so we have to stop. We don't have to do anything. I am choosing to share the perspective of moving beyond that. So again, when we see something that we admire, going back to my last post yesterday, we say Allahumma barik, because we're now moving beyond we're moving beyond the present, we're moving beyond the tangible, and recognizing that our value is not according to Allah in these things. It's a reminder. And then when it comes to, again, asking for it to be blessed, it removes it filters, it purifies the energy of admiration. So again, with excessive admiration comes eventually some forms of jealousy, because that is just a human thing. Every one of us has felt jealousy before in our life. Envy, which is the most evil of them all, because the difference of jealousy and evil is this. Envy is this. So, like one time, for example, I'm going to share that story after. Let me just stay linear. The difference between jealousy and envy is that jealousy is you wanting something that someone else has and feeling a feeling of like lack, like, oh, I'm so jealous. Like, I want to be doing that, or I want to have that, or I want to be like that, or I want to whatever, look like that. You're jealous. But if you are envious, it's not only that you want it for yourself, you don't want them to have it. That's the level that it goes to. And there's levels of that, to the point that you don't even care if you have it, but you don't want that person to have it. That's envy. And so when you nip certain things in the bud, like excessive admiration can just be that in the beginning. It can just be admiration. Excessive admiration. You don't always realize what that's going to become. So the beauty of this statement, Allahumma barik, you're nipping this in the bud before it even becomes a problem. You're nipping the potentiality of sowing seeds of negative emotions and putting out negative energy onto other people by making these statements. So before it can even become jealousy, before it can even become envy, before you can even start getting into this place of, they have this and I don't have this. They have this beautiful relationship that is so loving and so warm and so romantic and so passionate, and I'm alone right now. Allahumma barik. You ask for it to be blessed, and you start recognizing that provision comes in different forms. We come on this earth and we have provision. There is that which is meant for you. Now you can alter that in some ways by asking, by envisioning, by taking certain steps, by removing blocks, by releasing inner limitations. But what I'm saying is, some people in this life are meant to have more in some areas than others. And if we have a connection with the Creator, and if we know who that Creator is, and we really were to establish that nourishing connection, we wouldn't rely so much on these outward forms of connection, or just outward things. We wouldn't rely on the outward to feel fulfilled and to feel whole. And the time we're living in, and if anyone's typing, I cannot see because I'm not wearing my contacts right now, and I'm just choosing to let my eyes breathe, and I need to get glasses for when I'm not using contacts. So I'll have to answer whatever you're writing later. Even me, my own face is a bit fuzzy right now for my own self. I lost my train of thought with that. The point that I'm making is several points, and that is this statement, Allahumma barik, is stronger than what many people in my tradition say, which is MashaAllah. MashaAllah is like, oh, that's what Allah wills, that's what the Creator, that's what God wills. You know, this one actually, it makes you present, it brings you back to your origins, it prays for the person and blesses, is asking for blessing for them. It purifies the energy of admiration. So now it raises, it's beautiful. It's a really beautiful statement. And I never actually realized, except recently, these different levels, because my interaction and being not as much connected to only a Muslim community has helped me in that my mind now thinks of ways to explain what I've always been aware of, or what a lot of people in my scope, I can easily explain it to them, but to now put it in a different way. So for people who are already connected to spirituality within Islam and religious practices within Islam, it's just simple. You tell them, oh, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, meaning may peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said that whenever there is something that you admire, say Allahumma barik. I would quote the narration. I could say the chain where it came from, for example, if I reviewed it, and they'd be like, oh, okay. It's really kind of simple. But when you're talking to people who they're not maybe even sure yet about the creator, they don't know the names. They haven't been exposed to the names that I grew up with. They haven't, maybe they still think of the creator in an anthropomorphic way. Maybe they think of themselves as the same as the one that brought this whole universe into existence. They're like, I'm a creator, that's a creator. I've only seen God put in a human form. I'm human, I'm God too. Like that's kind of the angle that some people are coming from. It's very different from where I'm coming from. So to say things in such a direct way, from as if they are coming from the same background, it doesn't make any sense. So my mind now goes to, what are some ways to explain certain terms that people can make them understand the beauty and understand the wisdom of it, whether or not they choose to even adopt it, but they can at least shift their perspective and their awareness. So that's how I started realizing, wow, like in Islam, we're taught that we are put on this earth to worship. There's a verse in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون. And I did not create mankind or jinn except to worship me. And so we live in a world today where, okay, a lot of people don't really believe in Allah. They may even believe in God, but they don't believe in Allah, because God and Allah are different. That's a whole nother subject. But God as presented in Hollywood, as presented in books that have been altered and changed, God as people thinking, I'm God too, I'm a God. That's not Allah. Two separate things. So people who are coming from that perspective and don't know Allah, if I say that this creator or Allah or God, if I use that term, which I usually don't, but if I were to use that term, they would say, oh, he has an ego. Why does he saying that the only purpose for you to be on this earth is to worship me? That's very egotistical. What kind of God is that needs my worship? But that's because the word worship is not understood the way that I understand worship. Because again, worship is everything that is beloved. Everything that Allah loves and is pleased with is considered worship for us. So we are created to do what the one who brought all of this into existence loves. And when one goes deeper into that, they'll see, oh wow, we were inspired to know through the prophets that Allah loves for us to be connected to our neighbors. Allah loves for us to be of conservation. So there's a verse in the Quran that says, Inna Allah la yuhibbul musrafin. Like, I may be saying it a little bit wrong, but that verily Allah does not love those who are wasteful. We're here in Bali with a water shortage that is, there's water here, but meaning the water table, I should say, of fresh water is going down because we're using too much. We're using a lot. Allah doesn't like those who are using too much, more than they need. So what I'm saying is, Allah loves that when we conserve. Allah loves that we keep the trees. Even in a time of war, Prophet Muhammad was inspired to teach the people not to cut down trees. So we can say Allah loves that we grow things. Allah loves that we keep the trees alive. Allah loves that we are good to our parents. Allah loves that we are respectful and kind to them. Allah loves that we take care of our bodies. In the Quran it says, "Kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum." Eat from the good things of the earth that we have provided for you. Sometimes Allah speaks in plural, like the royal we, like in honor, we. Eat from the good things that we provided for you. Allah loves that we have our intellect sound. That's why alcohol is something that we are told not to drink from that. That's why it took about 14, 15 years before there was an actual prohibition that worked. That's another story. A prohibition that lasted and worked because the people wanted to align. So I started to summarize it and I realized, okay, how would I explain worship to someone who is of a completely different background? It's alignment with the one, alignment that leads to the one that brought all of this harmony and balance into the natural world, into existence. And so when we align with that and we bring those guidances and those practices into our life, we ourselves become centered. We ourselves become purified. We ourselves become balanced. We start to eat well. We start to sleep well. We start to feel grounded and peaceful because we are stopping several times in the day to center ourselves and to connect. We start to have better relationships with our community because we know our neighbors. We're kind to our mother. Our mother is deserving of our love and our companionship. We're good to our fathers. We are not going around sleeping with other people's wives and husbands. We're not trying to tempt them with our bodies and our words and put something into this world that will cause problems later on, because there are a lot of problems that come from the way people are dealing with sexuality in these times. As far as the way of saying dealing is a bit not what I wanted to, how I wanted to say it. But my point is the way we handle our sexual energy, when we look at the world, there is a lot that has come from that. There's a lot of STIs, there's a lot of broken homes, there's a lot of abuse, there's a lot of trauma surrounding that. Allah doesn't love that. And that is why there are certain guidelines in place that people may seem as strict, but when it's practiced with balance and peace and sincerity and connection, it brings so much beauty and order that is lacking in this particular time. So this is something I'm going to keep talking about. I'm going to continue sharing in different ways, different forms. But all of this started with the phrase, Allahumma barik. That when we see that which we love, that which we admire, that which we appreciate, that which we are all in awe of or amazed by, we follow it up with a statement that reminds us of our purpose, reminds us of our origins, reminds us of the one who brought all of this into existence, and then it purifies the energy by asking for that one to be blessed, or that thing, even if it's yourself. That looks so cute today. Allahumma barik. Even if it's yourself, asking for that to be blessed and purifying the energy of admiration. So I pray that this was beneficial, and looking forward to sharing more with all of you. And that's it. Allahumma barik. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum.